off the table. First pick, LeBlanc for Palafox.
Emilio also is available, has been really high prio still on this patch, but is falling down a little bit, I will say. You know, it had been basically 100% prio on the last patch. Now it is falling through some of the picks and bans. We'll see if they are going to go towards it. I do think we're also seeing, because of some of the enchanted nerfs, some of the supports are just feeling like, even if this champ is really, really strong, I want to play something that fits my style better, right? Some of the champions that really just work well with them, hard engaged champs, we're seeing more Rell, more Recon, more Nautilus, things that can have that go button. And it is going to be a relatively early Tristana here. We've seen some Tristana mid. Vicla did play it yesterday in their win.
Yeah.
But I am not the biggest Tristana mid fan. I do think it can be pretty risky, especially if you can get an aggressive jungler to pair with the LeBlanc, because this champion plays really poorly from behind.
All right, well, Isaac, I hope you got a glass of milk, because here's my spicy take.
Okay.
I like Tristana mid, depending on the pilot.
Okay.
And Vicla piloted it questionably yesterday. I think that he was focused by a lot of ganks, so I'll excuse that.
You're not getting on air Vicla?
There were some of the decisions in some of those fights that I was left scratching my head about. I was, you know, since I wasn't on yesterday, I was in Twitch chat just BSing with everybody there.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody was talking like, oh yeah, when you run 2 marksman comps, you got to make sure that you're keeping your range and all that. I'm like, no, you play 2 marksmen, so when your first marksman dies, you have another one. And I wasn't quite...
You're joking, but actually you're not, though.
So
it's the backup marksman people. Come on.
I hope that he can have a better performance on it here today, and because it can be a very powerful pick, especially if you get ahead, if you get rolling and you can knock down those turrets so swiftly. It's a monster.
Absolutely. I mean, when you really do take over a lane, when you have perma-prio, when you have that shove, you crush through turret plates incredibly quickly. You have the ability to really dominate a lane. But when you start to lose in the 1v1, all of a sudden you don't get access to the wave. You're getting poked off. You're getting really chunked down. And you don't really have any utility to speak of. So at that point, you're just kind of hoping that you can scale up and be useful later on, right?
Yep.
You really fall off a cliff pretty quickly. But we will see what they want to pair alongside it. It is going to be, you know, that dynamic duo up on the top side for FlyQuest, Spica, alongside Impact on the Sejuani and the Renekton. Renekton really rising in prio again as well here on 13-12.
Yep.
We've been seeing a ton of it. We did get to see that cool counter pick from Rich where he brought out the Quinn. But besides that, it has mostly been the pretty standard stuff. People are picking Gnar into it. People are picking tanks into it and just looking to have more value later on in the 5v5. And we can see Cassante getting banned out, Kennen getting banned out. So we'll see where Dhokla wants to take us. He has been playing a pretty large variety of champions, you know, a mix of tanks and carries. But, you know, given the first 3 picks here, I would not be shocked at all if it's just like a Scion game or something for Dhokla.
Yeah. The Ezreal, Alistar, Kennen, Cassante, all banned out here. Worth noting that we talked a little bit about the Tristana, but also when you think about Sejuani in the jungle, Sejuani likes melee pairings in the solo lanes to help give those stacks and allow her to make the ganks more effectively. So gonna have that edge, not quite as sharp there in the mid lane, but FlyQuest will lock in Aphelios for Prince. Remember, during yesterday's game against Team Liquid, it was Prince going hero mode, full Chad Zaya, flashing in to make the hero play at the Elder fight that actually gets them the win.
Yeah.
And it's questionable whether or not they win that game if he doesn't do it. So put the faith in Prince. I feel like FlyQuest, that's always got to be part of the game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing more and more of this on red side as well this week. We've been seeing a tremendous amount of 5th pick supports here, you know, looking for that 2v2 advantage in the bot lane. FBI going to be going towards the Rell. We've seen a tremendous amount of Alistar as the answer because you can interrupt the crash down. You do have that. I really do think there are some enchanters that are incredibly strong into the Rell, though. I'm a big fan of Janna. I know we don't see a tremendous amount of it in pro play, but I actually do think it answers in this meta really, really well, not just against the Rell, but also against things like the Wukong. You have the disengage for that. It's pretty simple. Can give you a more dominant lane because Alistar, I don't think, is the strongest of laners. Braum also makes a lot of sense here, being able to just absorb that initial engage, block things like the Empowered Shock Blast, block things like the Varus poke as well. So Vulcan going to be playing that, and Braum always pairs so well with these double marksman comps. You stack up that passive incredibly quickly. When it comes time to 5v5, your job pretty much just becomes applying the passive to multiple members.
Mark a guy.
Exactly.
And then over on the other side, you were talking about how, hey, it looks like it might be a tank angle game, maybe just be a role player. Not what we're going to get out of Dhokla. They did ban out some potential carries in the top side, getting rid of things like the Kennen and the Cassante, but he's going to pick up the Jayce, take that into Renekton instead.
And it feels like they are moving more heavily towards a poke comp with this. You know, we do talk about LeBlanc LeBlanc as an assassin, and yes, she is when she gets really far ahead, but oftentimes in the later stages of the game, you really are just functioning as a poke champ. You W over a wall, QRQ, you chunk someone out, you're looking for that less the 100-0, and when you're paired with a Varus, with a Jayce, that poke can become pretty oppressive. It's very difficult to face check into what NRG have drafted. Of course, there are some beefy frontliners here on the FlyQuest side whose job is going to be absorbing that poke, who is going to be the people who have to kind of face check those brushes. So we'll see how exactly they want to play it out. You know, is it going to be full poke Varus? Is it going to be, you know, just AP or on hit? There's a lot of different ways you can go these days. Even with the rune choices, in the past it had been really obvious with rune choices which way you were going to go.
Right.
Now we've been seeing a lot of people go with different runes and all still going towards AP.
Well, let's see how they decide to play it out here. They would love to keep this win streak going, man. They've already gotten through the hard part. Cloud9 and Golden Guardians, awesome. Good job, boys. They're the ones who showed Cloud9 are mortal in summer.
Yep.
They smacked Golden Guardians upside the mouth. Now they just got to keep it rolling against everybody else. Don't get too far ahead of yourselves. Play the game smart. I
mean, it's crazy, right? We're talking about FlyQuest as this team that is supposed to be an easy team now because they had a horrible start to the split. But if you look back to last split, their schedule was literally first, second, third at the end of playoffs, right? In a row. So it could not be a harder schedule when you were circling that, you know, as soon as the schedule was made after last split. So that is something that you really do have to look out for. FlyQuest sent all 5 top. They wanted to get that side lane brush. Can be really important in these melee versus range matchups to be able to have that. So Jayce can't just be poking in and out of the brush and avoiding minion aggro, resetting that over and over and over as he harasses the Renekton. It is going to be PTA on FBI, so I'll be interested to see where he goes. Again, you know, initially we had been seeing for the AP builds a lot of Halo Blades. Then, you know, Lethal Tempo had more the AD on hit, but this week we also saw Unforgiven go Lethal Tempo and still play the AP style of build. I would assume with PTA that it is going to be more the AD on hit style, but very well could still just be Shiv into AP, as has been the most common Varus build. But we've also seen poke builds. We also have occasionally seen Blade of the Rune King, Hurricane, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of variants, honestly, for Varus these days.
And worth pointing out, summoner spells are mirrored across the board, including in the AD carry position there, with both of them deciding to take the cleanse to get out of some of the CC available to both sides here. Only difference being the heal for Vulcan versus the ignite on Ignar.
Yeah.
When I see Rell locked in as support, I love seeing the Rells that like to roam around, like to be playmakers. I love seeing the ignite being taken to guarantee that they can get some of those early kills and make use of those roams when they're leaving that AD carry in bottom just to sit back underneath turret and farm. And knowing Ignar as a player, I'm hoping that's what we get to see here in this one too.
Absolutely. That's really what he's known, but they're going to go in on the bot side.
Already, Prince below half HP, but FBI's taking some shots back. Ignar's now got to be careful as Vulcan and Prince taking this opportunity to fire back at him here. Don't want to commit too far. Still only level 1. They know that Energy's going to hit level 2 first, and there it is. FBI and Ignar picking that one up. But just a little bit of scrappiness early on here. I like seeing it from both sides, quite honestly, especially when you both got these melee supports. It's not the Enchanter world. Everybody wants to be able to go in.
Yeah, and it was a flash already down for Ignar. So he flashes in, he trades it for the cleanse, does not use the ignite, but if they go in next time, there will be no cleanse for that ignite. So probably going to be looking for another aggressive play. Does have access to that Hex Flash. That is something that we used to see a lot of when melee supports would play Hex Flash. They just try to trade flashes. In this case, he did not actually get the flash trade, did just get that cleanse, but does open up opportunities here. And Spica obviously has been spotted, clears out the ward. Contractz knows that he's going to be in that area and will be looking for him, but it is a little bit of a difficult invade because Spica is a lot closer to his bot lane.
Well, Spica will just farm up that Gromp. Contractz doesn't jump out after him. Contractz is just waiting in this brush still. There we go. Immediately opens up with the crushing blow.
Yeah. But not really getting that much. The interesting thing is, though, is it should be his blue buff because Spica was nervous about the smite steal. So Ignar left lane. That prompted Vulcan to move up to actually help defend because they were expecting this invade. Spica was worried that Contractz was going to pop out of a brush and smite away that Gromp. So he used smite on the Gromp, which means he can't stay to contest the blue buff because he's going to lose that 10 times out of 10. You would hope against that.
You would expect.
You would expect. As I said, I was like,
and the other one doesn't.
You never know.
In pro play, there's just a lot of check boxes here that I feel like are being checked.
It's a choose your own adventure sometimes, you know?
Dude, it's a choose your own adventure at the to win the game, turn to page 2. To die, turn to page 97. Well,
what if I want to see what happens? I mean, 97, winning the game, I already know what that looks like. How do I lose from here? That's interesting. That's exciting. You know?
Well, fortunately
spice it up.
Fortunately for Energy, Contractz did not turn to page 97. He just stuck around. He stole the blue buff. There was no problem with it. They're all right. Vicla wants to jump in on Palafox here, find a nice quick trade. The power of the burst from that explosive shot when Tristana can just go in like that. Palafox having to be a little bit careful here. Normally it's LeBlanc threatening those bursty trades, but Tristana's real good at it too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's almost no champions that really do win the trade if you're allowing Tristana to auto you with the explosive shot on you, right? That is the reality of it, is it's so much power added. And if you ever spend spells on the wave, that's one of the things that makes Tristana mid such a threat. If you're ever forced, because Tristana is just going to kind of try to relentlessly shove in a lot of these matchups, and if you can force your opponent to utilize their spells to try to hold the wave away from their turret or the last hit, all of a sudden, you just jump on them. You just go right in there. You don't have spells? Great. Try to trade it into explosive shot. That's going to be difficult.
It's like, all right, dude, here you go. Topside Impact and Dhokla. Well, Impact's not having a very good time here. I was about to say they're scrapping a little bit, but Impact using that Cull the Meek there to guarantee that he stays healthy enough to not have to spin the flash. The nice part for him is even though he's very low on HP, Dhokla's very low on mana, so... Oh man, that's...
that was close.
A little bit too close there, Mr. Crocodile. Down to 50 HP there for Impact.
Did his auto go off, or did he auto a minion? I wasn't sure, because he went for the Q flash, he hit the Q, but I wasn't sure if the auto actually came through on the end of that. Now this is actually really scary for Dhokla, because Dhokla uses his flash, doesn't get the kill, his wave's in a bad spot, and his opponent just hit 6.
Yeah,
so now he has to base. The wave will not crash. You know, if we look at the minimap, you can actually see the wave right there is actually being held. So you just base from this position, and what it'll do is it'll slow push towards you. So Dhokla's now forced to TP back to try to hard shove out that wave. Impact can TP back to answer, but a full wave will be denied from Dhokla. And at the end of the day, Impact should be ahead, XP should be ahead, gold, and we'll have the flash advantage here. And of course, Renekton at 6, you're getting a lot more from hitting 6 than the Jayce is. So now Dhokla's kind of put into this pattern where he's got to be really careful. And you can see he doesn't even feel comfortable to necessarily walk up to that wave. It's still being held. You know, if we can look up towards top lane, it's problematic.
He doesn't know that the Sejuani's down in mid. Contractz now. He was coming in for a gank on mid, but Vicla immediately just turns it so hard that Contractz is the one having a flash away. It's a flash for flash Contractz for Vicla here in mid, so Palafox at least has the advantage there in summoner spells.
Yeah.
But it's scary, man. You gank the Tristana like that, the burst damage immediately right back in your face, and with Contractz forced out, with him put at such low HP, this is now a green light for FlyQuest to rotate that mid laner down here, join up with Prince, Vulcan, and Spica, and guarantee a free, easy, and early first trade.
Yeah, that's really, really big. And it's also so nice that Honey Fruit is here for Vicla, because he can actually just come out of lane. He got chunked down pretty heavily, but he grabs the Honey Fruit, goes right back to lane, healed up a bit off the dragon, has the fleet as well, so getting those fleet procs, and he's back pretty healthy, so doesn't have to be as nervous, because if he actually got left in that low HP situation, even though they got the flash off Contractz, he's down a flash and Palafox to threaten it all in, so he might have been forced back to base. So this kind of bails him out and makes it just a win for FlyQuest, really in all regards.
Everything coming up FlyQuest here early on. That top side all in like we were talking about with Dhokla. I can't really fault him for it because it was just 40 or 50 HP or whatever that his opponent survived with, so I can see what he was going for there, just being slightly off on the calculation. But like you're saying, man, now you're up against a Renekton Sejuani combination. He has flash advantage. Everything is a risk.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so difficult, right? Oh, well, we're gonna see him die.
There it is, Ruthless Predator. They're gonna stack up the stun. They aren't even using the Sejuani ulti because they know they don't need it. Impact commits the Dominus to guarantee no potential one-for-one trade, and it's FlyQuest first on the board.
Nicely done by FlyQuest. They get that kill. They don't overcommit. No flash used by Impact. No ulti used by Spica. So then they can just go right over to the Azael here. We can see Rell is coming up, as is Wukong. Both ADs are down towards bot lane, but Prince is threatening a move. He's not showing. So even the fact that Prince is not showing has to make NRG a little bit nervous that he could be coming. And in fact, he is cheating up a little bit. I don't think the NRG can get in. There's no real way. Yeah, FlyQuest are just going to hard force that. When they're up over 1,000 gold, they got the first 2 neutral objectives. Ignar is not level 6. Vulcan, the same story here, as neither of the supports has access to the full kit, so I don't expect to see any crazy engages coming out. Ignar just sticking around long enough to proc the Targans there, guaranteed that he gets Palafox a little bit of extra money and grabs his own too. Contractz, not going to get much other than just clearing the wards out. Yep, and I like how Prince played that, right? Prince doesn't know exactly where everyone is, and he wants to threaten that he's moving up because he had already pushed out bot wave. So what he did was he pushed out bot wave, started moving up the river, and then just went and farmed Grump during that time, right? So he didn't hard commit all the way up. because he saw NRG weren't committing. If they did go for the full fight, he could have moved towards mid lane and tried to be there to reinforce. So I do think it makes quite a bit of sense here. We can also see FBI is going towards that static Shiv as Vicla, no flash, gonna get chained up.
Vicla trying to disengage there. Buster shot knocks Ignar away, and Vicla can then rocket jump back to safety. He's gonna survive the attempt on his life.
Nicely done. That was the flash, if I'm not mistaken, off of Ignar, and the ignite, and the ulti. So gets the whole kit out of the Rell there, survives. Nice buster shot from him, gonna keep himself safe. And gets out of dodge with that flash still down here. It's almost back up, and that is kind of that window that NRG were trying to capitalize.
And now you're feeling so much safer on FlyQuest. I was talking earlier about how when I see Rell locked in, I love to see this champion roaming. I love to see plays being made around the map. Well, when you just emptied the magazine and you didn't hit the broadside of a barn, all of a sudden, the enemy team's not so scared no more as Impact. Having to chase Dhokla back away here. Pops the dominus here in this trade to come out on top. Now with the wave ready to crash in and his jungler swooping around from the side. Dhokla's got to be careful.
Bound to leave.
Let's see. Are they going to go for something here? It looks like they just might. All right, Spica's going to lead the way. Flash into the Ruthless Predator, and there it is. They get the immediate kill on Dhokla. Contractz wants to pick one back up on an Impact. Cyclone 2, he finds it. Now Spica's being a little bit cautious here. Does not want to overcommit because he's not sure if help is going to be coming for the other side. He'll go ahead and guarantee they push out this next wave. He does have the Eye of the Herald in inventory, but he is not using it just yet. The timer is expiring rather soon, it looks. Or no, wait, never mind. This is the Broken Spectator.
Yeah, it's the Broken Spectator
I was like, there's no way it's expiring that fast. It literally can.
It's a double eye. See, the first eye is expiring, but there's an eye behind it.
Okay, we have a second charge on the Herald timer that doesn't work.
On the timer, yeah.
That's good.
Not on the Herald, but on the timer.
Good to know.
Yeah, you get a backup one. A backup timer in case you mess up on the first one. As we're going to see this play one more time. Dhokla obviously was trying to stay around because Contractz is here, but he has no flash, so he has no real ability to react to that. I know the spectator showing Dhokla had a flash. He didn't have it yet. I don't believe. So does get punished there. Palafox now jumping forward. The Shiv is completed for both Palafox and FBI. It's a devastating 2-0 Shiv lead for NRG, despite the fact that they're down 2,000 gold.
And remember, everybody watching at home, I know the Shiv was nerfed on the live patch, but we are not on the live patch right now.
We're in the past.
This is still Time Machine static Shiv.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
And it's still every bit as good as it was.
And we've got professional grifter, Clayton Cabin
Yeah,
Flowers
don't forget to buy yours now. 555 Retail Plus. That's 555 Retail Plus. Buy it now. As well, actually, you guys shouldn't buy it now. You should probably stop buying it.
My
Maybe
God, you're
try to get
scamming the poor people at home out of their money. Grandma, don't listen. You need that money for retirement.
Turn off the home shopping network. Well, FlyQuest,
could you, Flowers?
They're mad too. They must have watched some bogus infomercials.
Yeah.
They're just going to take everything away from NRG.
They ordered Static Shiv. They got only a Kerchi shard. It was a ripoff.
Oof. You hate to see it. NRG thinking about maybe contesting this one. They've given away all of the neutral objectives so far. I should just say both. It's only been 2, but it looks like it's about to turn
200%.
into an all of it here as that third one's about to drop over to FlyQuest as Vicla jumps away from Contractz and Ignar again, looking for the Tristana, but never really finding much of anything at all. Contractz and Ignar can't catch up to anybody. FlyQuest, they get the objective. They disengage in time. They're up 2,000 gold, not even 13 minutes in. The early game's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good. So now we have to see how they can move this forward. Dhokla is struggling on that top side. Went for that aggressive play. When you're playing range versus melee, the way that you win these matchups, everybody knows, is you poke, you prod, you harass, you whittle them down slowly, and to do that, you have to position aggressively. And when you don't have flash and you don't have jungle coverage, you cannot position aggressively, and the melee champions can threaten that all in, and that is kind of what has happened here, as Impact and Spica have been working well together to really put Dhokla into a hole this time. So Dhokla going to be struggling to dig his way back out of this, but it is double Shiv. It is going to be this Jayce stacking that lethality, stacking up the tier, and they will have a tremendous amount of pokes. So if NRG can execute really well around these team fights, try to soften up FlyQuest before that fight begins, there's still ways that they can win the 5v5s.
And that means there's also some pressure on Vulcan, like you were talking about in Champ Select. I want to see value out of the Unbreakable.
Yeah.
That needs to block some piercing arrows, block some of those accelerated shock blasts, especially when you're looking at guys like Vicla and Prince. One massive accelerated shock blast is half of a health bar.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get really fed, it can be problematic. But it is also double fleet footwork, and likely we will eventually have both Vicla and Prince building towards some lifesteal. Might not come in second, but I do think third we'll probably see BTs for potentially both of these champions. Yeah. And then as long as you have access to minions, you have access to a jungle camp, something, you can really start to shrug off that poke. which makes it even more important to kind of have those setups around neutral objectives where it's not as easy to just lifesteal up off of minion wave for free.
So total gold on the left side of your screen right now, it's all red bars, all FlyQuest at the top, except for Palafox there at the #2 net worth overall. That means I've got extra pressure on him in whatever upcoming fight to try to make something happen. Ignar has to flash away trying to disengage. Contractz going in after Vicla, but now he's all alone. Chains of Corruption fly out, but they only find Vulcan. Contractz with a flash to dodge away from the Glacial Prison as Impact slices and dices back over the wall. Ignar doesn't have a flash to get away now. He re-engages with a Magnet Storm onto 3. Vicla's dead and FBI got the kill. FlyQuest are trying to fight, but they're already slammed back down into the river. NRG, well fought.
Really well played there by NRG. They make it happen on the top side. It was a great engage there from Ignar. And as FlyQuest filter in, they group up. Ignar finds his moment. They get the kills. Some really big burst was coming through there from NRG, and Prince was kind of zoned out of the fight pretty heavily. He was dueling on the side against Palafox, more towards mid lane. And yes, he was getting a bit of decent chunk down onto him. You can see over here, he lands the ulti. He was spotted out by the ward. But if your AD carry is not there, right, this is a team that doesn't have as much consistent damage. It's just Vicla that is really in the fight as that big DPS. So everyone just focuses onto Vicla. Vicla dies immediately as he gets caught out there by Ignar. And by the time Prince has rejoined the team, the fight is already lost.
Ignar did a great job there too. He had to use the flash early. He disengages back over the wall. He picks his moment to re-engage. And if he picked that moment wrong, and we talk about this a lot when we're talking about enchanters versus melee supports, you have to be the guy deciding when to fight on that melee engaged support. If he picked that moment wrong, if he was desynced with the rest of the team by a second or something, the dude's deader than hell.
Yep.
Like, he went in at the right time. He locks everybody down. He escapes. NRG just played it really well.
Absolutely. And FlyQuest, their comp really wants to function as a 5-man unit, right? If Prince was there from the very beginning and everyone was focused firing Vicla, well, all of a sudden Prince is maybe just shredding you, right? But because Prince was a bit late to the fight, he was kind of fighting back and forth there with Palafox. NRG just preempt the play. They just send everything on the one real threat that was there in Vicla, and they burst him down. And now Vicla does have a Vamp Scepter here, so he may just be going actually BT second, really feeling like that poke is going to be pretty problematic, and I do kind of agree.
At 12 minutes and 45 seconds, the game was a 2,000 gold lead for FlyQuest. 4 minutes later, it's a 3K swing the other direction with NRG having nearly a 1,000 gold lead for themselves. Now, FlyQuest does have those first 2 Drakes still under their belt, so that's going to give them some combat stats to make up for some of what the gold would tell you is an NRG lead. And we do have that next Drake spawning here in about 30 seconds. I would assume that NRG wants to fight for it so they don't have to deal with a soul point Dragon Soul win condition for their opponents.
And Ocean Soul is really difficult to deal with as a poke-based comp, right? If they start to get a lot of regen, if you can't 100 to 0 people against Ocean Soul, you generally cannot kill them. So I do think FlyQuest is going to be looking to continue playing for that, and I agree, NRG is going to be wanting to stop that here, if possible. 10 seconds till Dragon spawns, Herald going to get dropped down. This will get the tier 1.
Yep.
And we'll see if they want to just use this to go straight to the Dragon. I think that's going to be the play, not try to escort it in for that tier 2 charge. But Palafox is sitting around. They're trying to get that early poke down onto Prince, but he has Red Gun, so he's able to heal up pretty effectively. NRG, though, already have started this. Vicla and Dhokla are down on that bottom side, but Impact is here, and they're trying to get in before the poke lands. Remember, FlyQuest need that hard engage in, start the fight at full health, try to finish it.
Precisely. They sidestepped away from some of the poke coming out there from FBI with a piercing arrow. Vicla waiting in this bottom side rush that spawned from the Ocean Rift. Impact and Spica, these are going to be the guys looking for that initial engage. Channel from Ignar just repositions himself right back next to his carries. Now Vulcan's going to eat a lot of damage. They engage. They immediately find the FlyQuest support, and Impact is being juggled around before we can do much of anything. Vicla with a disengage. Spica fires out the Glacial Prison, but FBI with an instant cleanse gets right back away from it. Prince eats a shock blast. NRG still not securing the Drake for themselves as Palafox jumps forward. Eats a little bit more damage from Prince on the long-range shot from Calibrum. NRG with complete control over the Drake pit now. The 1 kill on the support plus the damaged health bars on the enemy AD carry and top laner means NRG wins the fight, and they win it strong enough to take the objective.
I would love to watch that fight one more time and just really highlight how Palafox is playing this out. This is back-to-back fights now that he has kept Prince from really being a factor as Vulcan was trying to actually move in through that corridor and create space for his ADs, he just went over the wall and actually pushed Prince away from the fight. He made Prince take the long way around through the blue buff here. So just watch Palafox right here on your screen, and then watch where Prince is over the wall. So as they're coming forward into this corridor, Prince is going to be targeted here in the back line. He goes in, while his front line is dying down here, he's pushed completely out of the fight. Palafox stays in this area, making sure that Prince has to walk the entire way around. So Prince is just now rejoining to the fight. His front line has already been taken down. Impact's ult is expiring. He's low. And it's these kind of plays that are really going to make it difficult for FlyQuest to execute on what their game plan is. And it's beautiful stuff here from Palafox. NRG wants it to be broken up, wants there to be little skirmishes, poking and prodding, you know, really making things difficult for FlyQuest, where they want to be this cohesive 5-man unit, walking forward, big guys in front, little guys in the back, firing it out.
And I mean, there's been so many times before watching professional League of Legends throughout the years where you see a team engage on Braum, they don't get the kill and it goes bad. Palafox now got to be careful as Impact jumps on him here with the dominance in bottom lane. Teleports coming in from both sides. Dhokla arrives first. He's going to try to grab the kill on Impact before FlyQuest reinforcements arrive. Palafox jumps back in for the burst there. They take down the Croc before Vicla can do much here with that Tristana to reinforce.
Yeah, Vicla even flashed in there. I don't know if the call was that maybe Impact just about had stun or something and thought he was going to be able to get maybe stun and then heal up. I don't know if his Gore Drinker was coming just back up. There had to be something that really prompted that made Vicla think they could turn it around, because Vicla ends up keeping in, he flashes in, can't really get anything as Impact kind of dies as he flashes in. So goes bad there for FlyQuest, and all of a sudden, things really falling apart here once again for FlyQuest. Spica is there. I don't think they have eyes on the recalling Varus in mid lane.
No, he's
so not going to be able to stop that. Unfortunate for them. If Prince walked a little bit far forward, of course he couldn't have known, but if he had walked up, maybe Spica could have looked over the wall, but there could be an opportunity here on Ignar as Spica is behind him.
It's all just speculation, because the only reason he would know about that is if he had perfect vision.
Of course, yeah. It would have just had to be his AD randomly walks up and then he sees him over the wall, and could have ended up being a freebie, but now going to get spotted. Ignar not too worried about that. There was a lot of time invested there by Spica, honestly.
Yeah, for not a whole lot of anything, just a little bit of chicken camp cosplay that does not reward any gold or EXP. Meanwhile, if we're talking about getting something done, maybe it's Contractz finding the Croc up here on the top side. Both Cyclones already used. Impact trying to get away here. Shock Blast with no acceleration does not do enough damage, so Impact will survive. But they force the enemy top laner back to base, and they have total control over the top side.
Yep, all for all trade there at the end of the day, basically from Contractz and Impact. Dhokla just didn't quite have the move speed, doesn't have tier 2 boots, and honestly, that's the difference. The fact that there's tabbies over on Impact, and he just has the brown bag still wrapped on his feet, not quite able to catch up there. I think he used the acceleration gate earlier to try to actually close that gap for the move speed. And then went into hammer form, tried to catch back up, couldn't quite do it. So Impact barely able to survive there. Potentially now, though, Dhokla could be caught out. We'll see if he actually shows. He knows that there is danger, so he's just sitting in the brush.
And we've got 90 seconds till the next Drake spawn. So if you die here or use an ulti here, you'll be back alive in time, or the ulti will be just barely ready to go by the Drake fight. But, you know, it's been 15 seconds since I started that sentence. Now we're getting to the point where it's a little bit more dangerous. We can't just be wasting these resources on random stuff, because if you're NRG, you're up 3,500 gold now. I don't think you're afraid to take any of these fights in open ground. They've already showed us they know how to pilot it as the comp that has a higher barrier of execution.
Yeah.
So I say you just take that fight every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are kind of in this point now where you really do not want to be Tristana 2k gold behind your opponent in mid lane, down 2 levels as well. So you're going to add in at least another couple hundred gold there from combat stats on top. So it's going to be a rough situation. It looks like he wanted to go for a pit stop for the Vamp Scepter, just have a little bit of sustain and then complete another item. Like maybe he's going Navori or something second. I'm not really sure exactly what he's going to do with his build here, but that would be my guess. We'll see Vicla where he wants to go with it. But either way, his second item is really far off, and 2 items are already done for Palafox and FBI. Prince is still keeping pace. He's farming very well. Yes, he is down kills, but he has really good CS. So he has that second item done, working towards what is likely the expected Bloodthirster third that I talked about. Yeah. But things are going to get difficult, and when multiple items are being completed for these poke comps, even with lifesteal, it can get really scary. When you hit 3 items, it can come to the point where AP Varus all of a sudden is not poking you anymore. It's
killing you.
Just one-shotting you. Yeah.
Well, it's also scary stuff when that second item for the LeBlanc that you're talking about is the Night Harvester. For anybody who missed this interaction, yeah, procs on the Shiv Lightning. So
that seems good.
If Palafox hits a Shiv proc and they're all grouped up on FlyQuest side, which you already said they like to play traditional team fight, well, all of a sudden everybody could get chunked real bad. FlyQuest, they tried to sneak the Baron. I like the attempt at this. They know that they're not winning traditional approaches to fights right now, so try something that'll catch your opponents off guard. Unfortunately for them, NRG was able to pick up on what was going on, so they'll place down that Scryer's Trinket, immediately detect what's going on, force FlyQuest to stop. Drake is alive. Nobody's there just yet. FlyQuest still on about that 2,000 lead, or NRG on that 2,000 lead over FlyQuest, excuse me, who have managed to shrink it just a little bit from the slightly more extreme version that it was a little bit earlier. As, okay, now we've got everybody moving back down towards his bottom side a little bit further. Impact still up in top lane, but he's got the Unleashed Teleport. Actually, every single solo laner on the map, all 4 of them, Unleashed Teleports ready to go. So expect some side lanes. Maybe somebody tries to make a pick or a play there to get one of those guys out of the picture early. But I'm expecting whenever this fight happens, it's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's going to be a really important one here. The Dragon is up. NRG do have the ability to potentially look for it right here. I don't think that FlyQuest are really in position at all to stop it. So it's going to be a second Ocean given over. Was spotted there by the blue trinket from Vicla, I believe. But nothing really happening for them on the other side. They can maybe establish some vision around the Baron, but that's going to be about it. So for FlyQuest now, Soul is kind of a pipe dream. You know, you're going to have to figure out some ways to be able to, either get picks, take a Baron. You've got to be able to do something here because their lead has completely been given away. You know, they were up 2K, now they're down 2K. It is 25 minutes in, so honestly, 2,000 gold lead, not the end of the world.
Right.
But it is definitely concerning still.
So the nice part is we are at a point for everybody that's not Vicla where at least they're on the same amount of big completed items. Look, man, I'm just telling it how it is. It's not flame.
You're not lying. It's true. It's true.
The dictionary can't be mean. All right? And I am defining him
Depends
as
what words you use.
one item behind. So most everybody is sitting on that 2-item spike, right? 2 completed items for Jayce, Wukong, LeBlanc. 2 completed
Everybody's
items
doing great.
for
Vicla's
Renekton
there
and
too.
Sejuani. Yes, Vicla, we need to have a little bit more money in Tristana's pockets. That's okay. He'll get there. Even for the AD carries, yes, they're both 2 fully completed items, working on that 3rd, but now Contractz looking for impact up here. Ignar and Dhokla coming around from the side as the TP's ready to reinforce and bring Palafox into the fight. FlyQuest with a full disengage. Magnet Storm not going to find the target. Palafox jumps in, but a nice unbreakable back from Vulcan, keeping FlyQuest healthy. NRG went for the play. They did not find enough damage to get the kill. They forced the flash out of the enemy top lane.
They get the flash off him, but it's Contractz flash, it's Ignar's flash and Ignite, and it's both their ultis. So yes, you get some ultis traded over. Vulcan's ult, his heal, the flash of impact, but I think it's honestly pretty good for FlyQuest at the end of the day. And Impact held his ulti, he has his TP. FlyQuest are here, so if they can actually make something happen around the Baron, we'll see if they can punish. Vicla's still basing. He's going to be TPing, but it's going to be gone before he arrives.
But the DPS is slow. NRG are not making a call to burn it down super quickly. Baron being paused here at about 3,000. Spica goes over the wall. It's going to be a smite fight for the Baron. Here are the pins. It has been slain by FlyQuest. Spica with a beautiful steal keeps them in this game.
It looked like Prince actually ulted over the wall there with the Caliber and with the sniper rifle, tagged the Baron, and then waited until Spica went in and bursted the Baron with him over the wall. We'll have to see the replay to see if that is exactly what happened, but that is what it looked like on live to me, and that was really well done if that is the case. So let's watch it one more time. Over the wall here. He tags it with a Q. He's stacking up the chakrams. Then he throws out the ulti. Does that tag Baron? I don't think it does.
It flew through him.
So I don't think it actually does hit Baron, but he was still able to hit it over the wall. So did he have a turret? Yeah, is that a turret? Oh, there was a turret in the back of the pit. So it's the turret that is actually giving him the mark on Baron. So it wasn't the ulti. The ulti can't connect with the Baron. But the turret that he had placed over the wall allows him to burst in with it. So it was still that same idea, just not in the exact way that I was saying it, but really well timed. Prince and Spica combining there to burst down the Baron, to steal that away. And just like that, getting some momentum back in this game. It's a big play from the jungler and from the AD carry.
It's what I was expecting, but not the way I was expecting. The fight was hugely important for the momentum of the game, for the pace that we're going to see for the next few minutes. I mean, if NRG gets that, all of a sudden they're up 4,000 gold and they're bulldozing every structure still standing on FlyQuest's side. But now that FlyQuest got it, we're back to an even game state. The aggro from NRG has also been paused because it's just so much more difficult to push against Baroned up minions. This is a game changer for FlyQuest, giving them sort of a second chance.
Absolutely. It's a really, really huge play. And I like how they navigated this because NRG did what is relatively common, where you start up the Baron, but then you pause around 2-3K, and you say, all right, you got to come in. If you jump over the wall, we're going to kill you. But their opponents just bursted it down. You drop the turret over the wall, all of a sudden, Aphelios is in the mix, so it's not just on Sejuani, who can't burst it down from 2K. Aphelios plus Sejuani can, so that was really nicely done by them. But I will say, NRG spent too many of their turn abilities, like their abilities that they would want to use for that turn, that engage, on that chase down top side to really make that a safe Baron, right? Because if you still had flash on Rell, ult on Rell, flash on Contractz, ult on Contractz, then you do that and you all look for the turn.
Over the wall goes Ignar. Contractz popping that Cyclone, but it misses. NRG stumbling, trying to find a pick there on FlyQuest on their approach. And that's just, again, more useful resources now on cooldown.
Yep, absolutely. It is at least a trade, as Spica does throw out his ult as well to stuff that engage. But yeah, it goes bad for NRG. They wanted to be able to pause the Baron to turn, or at least to zone them off and then secure it. But because they didn't have those tools to turn, it became a bit of a flip, and FlyQuest outplayed them on it. Now going to be able to stuff this engage. They're pushing up here on that tier 2. You can see Dhokla still pushing up on top side, even with that Baron buff. In fact, not able to get that minion wave off his turret just yet, but they will take away the red buff. They will be able to put that red buff onto Prince as well as the Sejuani. And things starting to look pretty good. BT is now completed for Prince. He has that as his 3rd item. It was Navori's 2nd here for Vicla, so he did just make that pit stop as I was talking about for the Vamp Scepter, but he'll be working towards a BT as well. And the poke starting to mean less and less here. So it's going to have to be more about that kind of 100-0 combo where you catch someone with the chains of corruption and then you burst them down. Death Cap is complete for Palafox, so he definitely has the gold behind him to really look for those 100-0 plays. And he is 50 ahead of the curve as far as 10 CS per minute is concerned. Palafox is farming like a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, my eyes are on Prince as the main character of the game right now.
Yeah.
I think that if he's left alive, his Aphelios is going to be able to tear through NRG. But then just like we saw earlier, if Palafox can properly intercept him, if NRG can play the fights in a way where he's not able to have a good DPS uptime, then it's going to be a different story. FlyQuest getting engaged on. It's only Spica and Impact over the damage here at the front. Prince is ready to swoop in. Trying to use the red-white. Finds a little bit of damage back. Contractz got to be careful. Disengages back away with the clone. Neither side losing a man. Contractz and Impact both limp away.
Yeah, going to be able to survive. Vulcan again with the good stuff there. As they try to actually pile through, the Glacial Fissure comes down. Vulcan able to push them back pretty heavily. Palafox trying to look for that trade. Will have to use the ulti distortion. Did still have that available. Just went forward with the 1Q. So it wasn't one of those situations where you did go W in and then QRQ and then get stuck on that distortion. Yeah. So was being careful, respected the fact that Vicla could jump forward with the rocket jump. And he has the BT now completed. So Vicla is a real boy. But Palafox, it's going to be a lot of pressure on him. You talked about Prince as the main character, but the Wizard also has a Wizard hat. So Palafox is going to be fearsome on the other side.
Yeah, we've got 3 items getting completed on all 4 of our carries right now. Top laners, you can see Dhokla completes his first. Impact's still working on that, a little bit behind in the economy department. But in the jungle, the Abyssal Mask for Spica. I always like this thing, just magnifying a little bit of the extra damage your opponents are going to be taking. And let's be real, there's not a ton of extra magic damage on the side of FlyQuest. It is just mostly Spica and then whatever little bits and pieces Vulcan can throw in. But hey, anything is something, right? Yep. They just have to try to knock these guys down. Prince is the guy to watch for, though. I'm telling you, with stopwatch in the inventory, with the 3 items online, so much of this game is going to come down to, does he get his DPS windows? Ignar gets locked down. FlyQuest are looking to go in on the enemy support, but he disengages. NRG, get away from that one.
The other thing that's really nice about Abyssal Mask is it's just dirt cheap, right? So it's one of these items that you can just get a quick item completion. Often as a jungler, you're not getting the 3 items unless the game goes really, really long. You can sometimes get this one completion in that's going to be more efficient than just having pieces of a more expensive item there. FBI trying to fish for some poke, but not able to connect. And FlyQuest are now on Soul Point. I talked about that as a bit of a pipe dream a while ago when NRG had taken the lead, when they had taken back-to-back dragons. But now it's only 2 minutes away here, Prince.
Oh, Prince, that's scary, man. Vulcan body blocks there, the accelerated shock blast, making sure it can't finish off the AD carry. But with Prince so critically low, NRG seeing the opportunity to push this a little bit further. The piercing arrow doesn't find much. Shock blast, again, only going to hit Vulcan. So NRG doesn't really win anything big off of this. That Drake isn't spawning for another 2 minutes like you were talking about with the potential for Soul. Both teams neck and neck here on the gold overall. Only plus of 250 for FlyQuest. Only 7 kills in a 34-minute game. It's not been particularly bloody. Even when we go back to the Baron play and the Baron steal that happened to equalize things, there weren't any kills involved.
I mean, there's been a lot of fights, but it's been a lot of disengages without deaths, you know, trades of summoners. Palafox has TP. I don't even know that they're aware of this. Now they must be, because they saw those wards poking out. They're going to TP in, but I think Contractz is too late. They can just burst this down.
Yeah, the Baron is already secured by the side of FlyQuest. If NRG want to get anything here, they've got to find some picks on the back end of things, but they're not in position. NRG got caught with their pants down, and FlyQuest are the ones picking up a free Baron.
Yeah, Palafox was down towards that bottom side, did get the gold to complete his Void Staff, so he's on 4 items now, monstrously strong, but they just aren't there in time. This late in the game with double marksman, you were going to shred through that Baron, especially with double Kraken. You are really doing a tremendous amount of damage to that Baron. They burst it down very, very quickly. 55 seconds until Soul Point here, or Soul, excuse me. They're already on Soul Point for FlyQuest, so they could claim this Ocean Soul, and that would be massive for them.
All right, who's going to take control? Right now, it's NRG. They've stolen away the enemy blue buff. They've denied that from anybody who might be picking it up. They've got control over the river. FlyQuest stepping up into the mid lane now. NRG want to try to find some opportunity here for a pick. Contractz doesn't just immediately jump onto Vicla. Vicla can easily disengage. Palafox gets absolutely slammed there in that trade. FlyQuest just with Baron control. They're pushing down mid lane. They're saying, look, if you want the dragon, you can have it. We'll just take the base. We can take the entire game from you.
Yeah, this is tough. The wave clear is not great from NRG at all. And the ulti's going to miss from FBI, so that's a critical tool gone. There's nothing really to threaten FlyQuest now. They're just marching forward. There's not going to be any poke landing here.
Yeah, the Chains of Corruption missing was huge. Contractz leaving the clone there on the front lines to try to soak some of the damage. Impact teleports in. FlyQuest are just walking down mid lane, killing NRG structures, and NRG has no way to stop them. They just sit there, and all they can do is wait for these cooldowns to come back. NRG just going to try to secure their own red. FlyQuest are marching back into the river now. They've moved NRG out of that position of control around the objective. They took objectives of their own in the meantime, and now they're the ones with priority over the river. Impact finding an immediate burst of damage on the Contractz, but taking a lot back himself. Contractz is over the wall into the pit. NRG ready to go. Impact disengaging once more. Contractz is so low, and Vicla's already got him. FlyQuest kill off the enemy jungler and secure themselves an Ocean Soul. You would have to think. Vicla going in the stopwatch. Drake Soul secured. FlyQuest is crushing NRG in the back. Ignar and FBI and Palafox are all killed. That's it. GG. FlyQuest are going to get their second win.
It's a clean ace out of nowhere for FlyQuest. They eviscerate NRG. They claim the soul. They had the Baron. They've got the base.
Honestly, the entire ending sequence there of FlyQuest just calling NRG's bluff, marching down mid, NRG failing to respond. FlyQuest played it better at the end, and it got them a dub. They'll go up to 2-6. Back-to-back wins now here in week 3.
Nicely done by FlyQuest. This was a pretty back-and-forth game. FlyQuest out early, then NRG really pulling it back, creating a lead of their own. But as you say, once FlyQuest got that Baron at the end, those final sequence of events really went their way. They had the BT completed on both Prince and Vicla. The AD carries had scaled. The pokes stopped meaning as much.